gonna go find you and put a
Yep,
link
it's
up.
gone live. I think we're going to be live. So yeah, you'll just have to copy the and share it from over there.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Which we'll have to go the old way and just look at comments too on YouTube. Yay, we are
On
live.
YouTube.
Yep, there we are. We are live. Yep, all good. Okay, we are here, everyone. Sorry, once again, technical issues. But we're live on my channel, so I'm sorry for Marcy's people. So she's
Yay,
actually
we are
gonna.
live on YouTube.
Yep, there we are. We are live. Where have I got that coming from? All good. Oh, there. Okay. All right, now I'll turn that down. Sorry, that was my computer that was talking to me then. So we are actually live here on my YouTube channel, and for Marcy's people, she is actually going to share the link. Where are you going to share the link, Marcy?
Well, I was going to share it under my YouTube there
Yep.
so people can go, but I'm looking at yours and our picture's still up and it's not going. So,
It's not in that. It's not in that. It's not in that stream that we just scheduled. So it's in a totally different stream. It's
oh,
not
but
going to
it's
be.
not started yet, right?
No, no, no. We're on. We're live. Yep, we're actually on and we're live.
Um, well, it's
So
weird because I don't see anything.
it's
But
not the
anyway,
link. Yeah, it's not the link that we just scheduled. So it's you're going to have to grab the link from my YouTube and you're going to have to you would physically have to probably share it on your Facebook page.
okay, because I was at your YouTube, but it wasn't there. I'll keep looking
Yeah. It's just
because I
under
can
just a
see.
it's not under that. It's not under that thumbnail now. It's just got me like it, yeah. Um
Oh, that makes sense.
it's
Okay,
a
gotcha.
totally different stream. Yeah. And that's what happens when we have to do a different one. It turns it into a totally different stream. So we can't even
Well,
have the
here we
same.
are.
There we are. We are live over here on
Yay!
YouTube. So I just wanted to have a big shout out to Marcy. Marcy has decided to join us. As you know, our lovely friend Rose left our training group in December because she had a lot of family issues and things. And so Marcy and I were chatting, and Marcy said that she would take up the position. And so I'm super excited that we can still offer the two of us doing our basic foundations of card making. So we were kicking off last December. We were doing fun folds. So we're doing fun folds again this month. So we've got some new members that have joined with Marcy, and of course, some of the older the members, the original members that we had. So we're going to step it up a little bit this year as well. We're going to do a little bit more because we have been working from the templates, and the reason, the whole idea of this basic foundations of card making is so that you can actually look at Pinterest, you can look at YouTube, you can look anywhere and see a card design and be able to dissect that card design and be able to create it yourself. So we're trying to get you away from worrying about what those exact measurements are for that card. What you need to start training yourself to do is to be able to look at a card and determine the card base, determine the layers, and then you do it in your own measurements. So that way you are able to craft and you're able to replicate. Things may look slightly different because of the difference in sizes in countries, but the whole concept of this basic foundations of card making is for you to be able to look at a design and to be able to recreate it because you know your measurements and you can recreate it. So it's a little bit like dressmaking. It's like working from the ground up. And I don't know about you, Marcy, but when I look at a card, I look at what the card base is. I look at what layers are on the card. I forget about all the embellishments and things. I just look at the basics of that card. I look at that is a white card base or that is a pretty peacock card base. So I look at what the card base is and then I look at what the very next layer is that they would put on that card and what they would work their way up until they have finished that card. So it's more or less, and that's the reason why we called it the basic foundations of card making. Your foundation is your card base, and then your layers are what you add to it to make the card come alive. So that's actually how we've been teaching for the last 12 months, and we've had some ongoing members for the whole 12 months, and we've had glowing reports about how this basic foundations of card making has helped their crafting and has made them craft so much better because they have the understanding of that base layers and how a card is put together. Marcy, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I was just going to say that exactly what you said is when I look at a card, and a lot of times I find cards in different sizes. I do a lot of, I'm looking for fancy folds or just something different. I might have something in mind like flowers or something non-flowers, maybe masculine or whatever. And I'll end up, it just seems like a lot of times I find a card, especially a fancy fold that I want to do that is from Europe. And so the cards are so much bigger. So I'm like, okay, well, that looks like they did an eighth of an inch. Okay, I could do that. And I'll pick out the papers that I want. Maybe I want to use a particular DSP, or maybe I like their colors. And maybe it is Stampin' Up, maybe it's not, but I'll find something similar. And then I kind of go from there. Like, okay, I don't worry about maybe the middle piece, but I look, okay, that looks like it's about a quarter of an inch. And so the same thing with measurements of paper and layering. You just kind of sometimes just play with it until you get what you want. But the layering is really important if you're looking at the edges. Start with the edges. If it's a little edge and you barely see that layer, that first layer of paper, and then you have the DSP, it's probably an eighth of an inch. If you see a decent amount, then it's probably a quarter of an inch. And that's where we're coming in when we talk about a quarter of an inch in measurement or an eighth of an inch in measurement. Just look and see, start at the edge and look in, and you can kind of get an idea. A lot of people do not put measurements out there at all. And so you want to recreate it, and you can, or at least as close to where it looks good to you. And you get the same idea of what you're seeing online. So, like Donna said, that's the best thing to do is you don't have to have the measurements, because even if I had their measurements, I would have to cut it all down anyway. And so I might as well start at my 4 1/8 or 4 or whatever size I want to start it at and kind of go from there.
And I think that's the whole concept. If you know what your regular card base, when it is folded, what that size is, you can create layers for that card base, stepping it down. And when Marcy's talking about an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch, when you want to put the next layer onto something, whatever that measurement is, when you want to go the next layer down smaller, depending on whether you want to have a very fine border, like Marcy is saying, the eighth of an inch border, it works out a 16th of an inch. You actually just cut that layer down 1/8 of an inch. So if it was like 4 inches wide, you cut it down to 3 7/8 inches wide. So if it was 5 inches high, you cut it down to 4 7/8 inches. Or if you wanted to go the quarter of an inch, you cut it down a quarter of an inch. So you take whatever measurement off the side measurement and off the length measurement, that is how you cut your layer down. So our templates that we have created for our group takes all of that guesswork out of it. So when I say it takes all that guesswork out of it, we can grab out our templates and we can say, you know what, we want to create this card. We know what our card front size is. We know what our first contrast layer is. We want to work down from that. So for instance, even if I wanted to, and I just want to show you this as an example of stepping down a larger amount than a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch. Say you wanted to have a much bigger border with our templates. I'm going to show some sizes here, but anyway, with our templates, I could step down. Okay, so we could do a normal quarter of an inch border like so. Okay, so we could do a normal quarter of an inch border like that. But if we wanted to see more of this color underneath, we could step it down to another one. Okay, and you can see you get, oh God, I'm trying to look in the video there. You can get a larger border. Or if we wanted to go again, that we still stayed with this one and we wanted to step it down even further and get another
I
bigger
do
layer
this.
again.
I step it down even further like that, or maybe one more if it's DSP, because I want to see my DSP. I'm not going to put it on there. Sometimes I don't want to see, I want to see my DSP,
So
not just a
you're
little
saying
bit.
if your DSP was this layer, yeah, and you
Correct.
wanted to see more of it. Also, too, like if you wanted to do, say, like this was going to be your DSP layer and you wanted to do like a focal point at the front, you could do like a nice rectangle like so, and you can see all of your DSP around the outside. So that's what Marcy's saying. This is where this template is absolutely awesome because you can grab out the template and go, well, I can have that on my card front, but then do I want to have this border? Do I want to see more? You can step it down, get the smaller template. That is your guide. And then what you do is from this template, you cut the piece of cardstock or the piece of designer series paper to that template size. So that's where the guesswork totally gets taken out of it. You can see what the borders are going to look like before you cut your cardstock or your designer series paper. Because who's been guilty of cutting a bit of designer series paper and then it doesn't work? And then you go, oh no, that should have been bigger. So then that bit is like, well, I'm going to have to put that in my pile and use it on another card. Now I'm going to have to cut into this big sheet of designer series paper again. If you already know what your card layout is going to look like, you are not going to waste designer series paper and you're not going to waste cardstock because you've got your template guides there already and you know exactly when you go to cut into that designer series paper what size you're going to cut it. Before you even cut it, you are going to know. So you're not going to waste paper, cardstock. So our template guide is really, really awesome. And it's something that our members get access to each and every month. So no matter whether you've been a member of our group before or you're a brand new member, you will get access to that template every month. We put those templates in our group. So don't think that you're going to be behind. Marcy's got brand new people that are joining now. Like I know that my members and Rose members have been doing it for 12 months. Marcy's members are now going to start learning from those templates as well. And we have a little bit of news next month. So for all of my members that have been here for 12 months, we're actually going to step it down and we're doing new templates for the 1/8 of an inch border so that you're going to get that finer small border, which is what Marcy uses and which is what I use. And when you get to be a seasoned crafter, you will find that sometimes you really want just that hint of a border. You don't want a bigger, bolder border. You want just that hint of a border, especially when you're doing white card bases and you just want a slither of that color on the outside. So we are going to get started. Marcy, I'm voting for you to go first because you said yours is going to be quick and easy. So we're going to go with
Well, I
Marcy
say
first.
that my videos are never quick and easy, but
And
I
mine
will
probably
do my
won't be
best.
either, but it is what it is. So Marcy's going to start first. So I'm going to spotlight her only. I'm going to remove me.
Yay.
There we
So
go.
as you can see, you see a whole lot more of my messy room on Zoom. So please ignore it. I've got 50 projects going and I tried to hide them all. So there we
I
go.
had to laugh. That was all Marcy was worried about. I said, Marcy, your room looks fine, but
We got together yesterday and I'm like, oh my gosh, on Zoom, I forget that you can see so much. I'm just gonna hide it. So like Donna said, we are the template thing is new to me, I will have to say. But if you think about it, it totally makes sense because our sizes are different. So Donna has sizes, of course, for Australian, and then we have different sizes. In the US, I prefer to do, and I'll show you just quickly what, like, kind of like what Donna was talking about, but let me explain this just a second. When, and this, the card I'm doing doesn't really pertain to this one, but the last two that you'll see on our Facebook page, you'll understand. So I do my card bases. Let's just take today's card and I'm going to just do the back of it. I'm going to put the 4 1/8 on there. Of course, I can't see it nice and straight there, but I'm going to put the 4 1/8 on because our DSP cuts evenly 4 inches. Okay, so that would give us 6 pieces of 4 by 6. So then I'm going to layer my DSP on here. This matches lovely, by the way. But I'm going to layer my DSP up on the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 to go on my card base. Probably 95% of the time I do white card bases. I just think they look crisp and bright, and that's just how I do it. And so I really like just the 1/8 inch. I'm going to use all of this DSP. I'm going to cut this bottom 3/4 off because then that's where you get the 4 by 5 1/4. And then that's going to go on the inside. So I don't know if I have one right here, but then that goes on the inside of the card. So you can tell that you don't get any waste. No, I can't find one with a full DSP right here, but so then when you open up the card, it's going to be at the bottom of the white paper, and you've wasted no DSP because you've used the whole 6 pieces for one sheet of DSP and there's none left. So that's why I do the 4 1/8. Beside that, I have a stack of 4 by 5 1/4 white next to me. These are the insides of my
We hear
cards.
about the size. It's templates.
I'm sorry.
We need the templates.
No, Jenny, this is where I don't want you to get confused. We do it in our sizes. So Marcy's
Right,
talking about
right.
her sizes, but we just use our templates. We physically just use our templates. So
Right.
it
So
will
when
still it will still work with our template because the piece that we cut off the bottom will still go on the inside with the size that we have cut it. And this is what we've been trying to say to everybody is no matter what Marcy does, we take the card that Marcy does, but we use our template and our measurements and we cut our designer series paper to our template size. So
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's still going to work. Yeah.
right. Everyone is going to get the 1/8 of an inch size templates. And so when we say, okay, get your bubble bath template for the US, it's going to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. But for Australia, it's going to be a different measurement. So I may refer to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 because it's a habit. So I apologize.
We've got
but
to try and teach Marcy to say you're going to use your
I
whatever
know.
color template it is. Yeah.
Right.
And it'll take a while for you to get used to that. Yeah.
Right. So you'll get the templates of the 1/8, and then that's exactly what you're gonna, put your DSP up on there. And so my purpose of just saying this is, so in the US, we're able to use all of our DSP when we do our measurements this size. And so that is why I do it mostly. You'll see me pretty much always do 4 1/8, unless for whatever reason I want that white to show or that color to show and bring it into the card.
And the fact is, Jenny, we are going to have extra strips that we can cut off to do our template. So we will have extra pieces to use on the insides of our cards and on the bottom of our cards. So even though Marcy's doing that so that nothing gets cut off the side, we will still cut it off the side because our cards are always narrower than what the US cards are. So we actually get extra strips. So we get an extra bonus. We get extra strips to be able to add into our insides of our cards. So yeah. Because instead of even just doing a strip along the bottom, which Marcy's going to obviously show, we can do a strip down the side if we choose, or we can do a strip down the bottom because we will have the strip from down the side and that will actually fit on our inside as well. Yep. All good.
Okay, so let me see if I can figure out how to switch my camera here and we'll get started on the card. Yay. Okay, so here is our card, and this is going to be our third card for the month. So the first two have been put on the Facebook page, so you can find that there. I'm just going to grab my flower because I'm
just going to interrupt here too. Mine is coming this afternoon, people, because I haven't done mine yet. I was going to get mine done this morning and I didn't get to it. So mine's going to come after this video is finished as well.
Okay, so this is called a book card. And so it's kind of like a book. You've got the binding part here and then the book. And again, so if you look, you've got your squares. So I'm going to look at my 4, because this is 4 1/4. Okay. And so this is going to be at 4. And let me take these off I keep mine on a ring because otherwise I'll lose them. And so 4 is what we started with, which happened to be the largest square. And so I would never put a layer that's 4 1/8. I would normally start, I mean, it depends on the card. If it's a card like this, yes. If it's a full size card like this, then I wouldn't do it like that. I would probably bring it down. So we decided to start it at 4. So this is your Flirty Flamingo. And so that is going to go there. And so I decided, okay, that was the first good layer. And then remember now that for the US, you're going to have your 8 size. So we're going to put that aside. We're going to go to the basic gray and go to 3 3/4. So then there is our layers that we're going to use here. Okay. And then we have, so you're going to pull out to make your card. Let's pull out our thick white first. And as I mentioned on a previous video, I usually will just use my trimmer to score if I'm just doing one card. We want to score it at 4 1/4. But if I have a lot of mass production, which I do a lot, I will bring in my scoreboard because it's just so much easier. So I'm going to bring in my silicone mat because I like to make sure everything is aligned just right. Sometimes I feel like I need to adjust. And the reason is when you're on your scoreboard, it just depends on if you're like right on the line, right before the line, right next to the line. And that's kind of, where I just want to make it sure it's nice and crisp here. The next thing I'm going to do is you want to bring in your secret C. And again, these are half a sheets of paper. So for us in the US, it's going to be 5.5 by 8.5. And I got to remember because we're doing these at 1/4. So I need 4 by 5 1/4 on these. Or excuse me, we need 4 by 4, 2 4 by 4s because I'm doing a different card. I'm doing this one. So 2 4 by 4s. So I'm going to do, now what I would normally do is I'm going to turn it this way. And I'm going to do 4 like this because I know that this strip is going to cover my piece right here. I'll set that aside. And now I'm going to do my 4. I happen to do all my layers ahead just to make sure I have everything. All right, we're going to do that. And we're going to set this aside. And like I've told you on the other 2 cards, keep all your scraps because this could go on the inside of a card. I mentioned I usually like to take the bottom of the DSP, the 3/4 of an inch. And then I always like to take a 1/4 of an inch. So, or just a little strip. If you have a scrap on your desk, it doesn't have to be a 1/4 of an inch. I just do a little strip to just kind of finish off that piece inside your card instead of just having a piece of paper. I like to just give it a little finish with a scrap. So I keep look I have this right here. I just finished a project. I keep my scraps like this because those look good for sentiments, but also to finish off the inside of your cards and you don't have to start a whole nother piece of paper. All right, so we have that. We have our 2 pieces. We have our card base, except I just realized that I cut it wrong. So I forgot that this is going to be a fold like this. Okay, so I apologize. We're going this way. All right, now you're going to take your DSP now because this is 4. All right, so your Flirty Flamingo, which is your 4 by 4. Now you're going to do your DSP in the 3 3/4 in your basic gray. Okay, so you want it to layer like that. All right, so we're going to go to 3 3/4. And this, of course, depends. Do you want that long strip for something? You possibly could because it could go on a card. but chances are you're going to use this piece right here for something. It's a little bit bigger. So go to 3 3/4. All right. And so now you have this piece for something else. So I'm going to put that with the rest of stuff. And then 3 3/4. All right. So now, and this is another perfect idea for a strip. You can just turn that over. Okay. So now we have these. This is going to be on the front. All right. But now I need my side piece, and we don't have rectangles for this, but let me show you your square. If you take your 4 by 4, you want it to line up with this. So when you do littler pieces, you want it to go, oh, okay, it's going to be the size of your Flirty Flamingo. Okay, so it's the same layer. But now you have to kind of decide, how far in you want to go. So what I did is I wanted this to be for the paper. And so if you take your ruler, you're going to look and just kind of make a decision. You want this to be square. So you're going to measure this and you're going to say, oh, okay, if the paper's 4 and this is a quarter difference, then this is 4 1/4, okay, all the way around. So take your paper. Let's, where did my paper? Here we go. We're going to take this and we're going to go in the 4 1/4. Okay. So now you know that it's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and now your 4 by 4 will fit in there perfectly with that 1/4 of an inch around. Okay. So just focus on this part right now. So it's going to be your 4 1/4 and it's 4 1/4. So you can put that in there with that 1/4 of an inch. Now we have this piece over here to think about. Let me just score this real quick there. All right, so now this piece is 1 1/4. So again, we want that 1/4 of a difference. So take your scratch paper that you have here and remember this is 4 1/4. We're going to come in 1/4 inch, and we used our 4-inch Flirty Flamingo. And so we want to go to 4 inches. It was 1 1/4 inch, so we're going to go in 1 inch. Okay, so you may not have your rectangle that's fully this shape, but you're going to have this way. So now you know that that's going to fit right in the middle of that 1 1/4, and that's just that 1 inch right there. All right, so there's that, which means now you're going to take your DSP strip that you had, and you're already at 4 inches because we cut this off and then cut that. So we're going to go to 1 inch, and I'm going to cut this first, but I'm going to look at this. There's more flowers over here, even though there's leaves here. If we cut this to 1 inch, we're going to get a little bit of white and this flower and this little bit here. So let's turn it and see what we get over here. So we go to 1 inch. I'm going to do this one because you get a lot more flower. Okay. Oh, you know what? First time, sorry. Remember when I told you guys to keep your scrap paper? This back side does not match this card, okay, because it would go right here. That is what is on the back side of this. So I told you on the first video, make sure you keep your extra paper for this. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do. I'm going to do it this way. That way you keep the bigger chunk. And I'm going to go to 3 3/4. All right, and then I'm going to do my 1 inch. Sorry about that. I forgot. I looked at the green and said, oh, wait, that is not going to work. All right, so this is the piece I was telling you to save. And now 1 inch. Sorry, this is 3/4. This is where Donna's talking about when you cut your paper and then you're like, oh, it's wrong size. There we go. So now if this is 1 inch, we're doing 1/4 of an inches. So we're going to do our 3/4. Okay. So now we have our pieces, but you're going to bring in your basic white, not the thick, the basic, and we're going to do the same thing for the inside. All right. So remember, now we have our inside. All right. And we're going to do our outside and our outside, but we don't have our white piece right here. Okay. So we're going to get our white piece, which is the same as the DSP, which is going to be 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Of course, save all that paper. All right, so now this is for the inside. And it's going to go right on top of that secret C. Now we have this piece left over and we're going to use that for your sentiment. All right, so let's do our sentiment right here. And I did secret C. Move that over. You know, I like to put my mat underneath my ink pad so it doesn't slide all over. And we are going to use Sending Smiles, and we're using that from the Lovely Arrangements. Now, at this point, pull out whatever sentiment you have. If you want it larger and you want to put it, you know, a nice large sentiment here in the middle, you can do that. I decided I'm just going to do the Sending Smiles. And you can always add like little vellum leaves, or there's all kinds of decorating that you can do on this. But I really wanted the paper to be kind of the main focus right there. And now when I stamp a sentiment, there's a couple things I like to do. I do like to bring in, I use silicone mats a lot. So you'll notice that I bring them in a lot. Number one, it is helpful for you to see it because of my white mat, but also it's easier for me to see it. And then I'm going to move this all the way to the edge right there. And you know what? I'm going to do another one because it's too close to the edge. I forgot I angled my edges. So let's do another one. And I like to do it at the edge because then I don't have to worry about that cutting that part because it's already cut. All right, so there we go. I love that font. So there's that. Oh, and let's do our flower on the inside while we're right here. All right, so let's move that there. I don't know what my husband's doing out there, but I'm going to tell him to turn it off. Sorry, I don't know what that noise is. All right, and then we're going to take the large flower of the same set right here, and I'm going to just put it on the corner of my paper. I'm going to use my paper here because I like to go off the edge. Okay, I just like to add just a little something on the inside. If I'm not going to add a strip of paper, which I could have added like this piece or the other piece, and then added that little strip. Like I would have done like half of that, like down farther. But that kind of gives you the idea. You could have done that, or you could do it simple, add a stamp. You've already got your stamp pad out, and that's easy. And another way I like to decorate the inside of the card. All right, so now the first thing I'm going to do, so when I do a video or a class, I like to start always with the inside project. So I go to the inside and I'm going to start there. So the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to fold this back. I don't burnish it. You don't have to. I just kind of fold it back just so I can have some working space. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to our card base. our first layer here. And that one's about to run out, so let me grab another one. And I do like to put a silicone mat underneath me even when I do this, because I tend to try to get to the edge and it never fails. It goes right onto my glass mat and then my hand's sticking in it. So, all
I
right,
just
now,
have to add there. Can you all notice, us Aussies, that here we have another American demonstrator and she loves using seal, where we tend to be the liquid glue people. So as you can see, everyone has their own choices, but it's something I've noticed from American demos. A lot of you use seal.
so I like to use seal, especially on white paper, because for me, I feel like the glue, and then you put it down and you can still see those lines on it unless you really rub it out and get it on there. But then the chances of it going out, and I just don't like that. So that's why I use seal. It's less messy, although I love our glue and I do use it a lot, but most of the time it's detailed and I use a glue bottle like this. I just pour it into here and then I use that. So I do use liquid, but yes, I do use seal a lot. All right, so then what I do, I like to also glue my things together, but if it's a dark piece of paper, I will do the white underneath it. If it's a light piece of paper, then I will do it on here. Because if this were on here and I was going on the glass and I was going white to white, it's a little harder to see, especially on video. You're kind of a little angled more than up on top of it. And so I tend to, um, it's just, I don't like doing it like this. I don't mind the dark here because I can really see it. But here and here, it's a little too dark. So we're going to dark. So let's go here. And I like to hold it on the side. And then I put my fingers down and I just kind of move it until I get right where I want it. Oh, he's doing laundry. That's what he's doing. No, he does not normally do laundry. In fact, ever. But he's going out of town tomorrow. All right. So I'm just going to trim that little piece there. And now we're going to go ahead and put this in. You could lay it down and get an idea of, your center, or you'll eventually know what a quarter of an inch looks like. So if this were open and you're like, okay, I'm going to put it over here and it's about right there. Well, this is not even to this. As long as you're even here and here, it doesn't matter if it's a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch, you're still going to see that that's even. And we're just going to move that over so that all three sides are even. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our adhesive. And you'll know I go all the way around, where some people just do a strip or two down. I don't do that. I'm just afraid something's gonna, connect underneath and lift it, and I don't want that. I don't want my card falling apart. So it gets very hot here too, and I just think, oh my gosh, my card is gonna, I don't want it to show up with my panels falling off. All right, so I'm looking here, and I think that's pretty darn close, so I'll let go, but I'm gonna close that just to look. And so that looks pretty good about all the way around. So I'm good with that. Now we're going to do the front. So we're going to do this part last because we need to do our bow. So don't do anything with that part until last. All right, so let's bring in our two panels here. And it's the same thing. I kind of decide at this point, you kind of know what your card layout is going to be. And so think about where you want your flowers to be. Our sentiment on this, if it's this positioned here, it's going to go right across here, which I think is perfect. So it just depends on your image that you cut out and what you want it to look like. Sometimes you want more green, more greenery in there. And I say greenery, meaning leaves or, whatever's on there. So I want it to go this way. It doesn't matter as I'm adding it to here because We can turn it. So same thing. I just kind of put my fingers down, get an idea. And then you can always drop one and look, and then just go ahead and let go of the other one. So that's good. And we're going to go ahead and add that to the front. I like to add my panels as I go because I don't want my panels to get mixed up. Because how many times have you picked up a piece of paper and said, oh, here, I could use this. And then you start stamping on it or cutting it up or whatever. And then you realize, oh, that was my back panel. I did that yesterday. Happens all the time. So I like to get my panels on as soon as I know what I want to do with them.
I normally
Right.
put my inside of my cards in my folded card base, and then I work on the front. So I'm opposite to you. I actually work on the front and do that, and then I finish off with the inside. But I put my inside layers in my folded card base so I know not to stamp on those thinking that they're the front layer.
Oh, so many times I've grabbed them, and I did it yesterday, but I was coming up with a project and I was deciding what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, look, this is the perfect size. And then I started cutting it up, and then I went to go find that panel and it was gone. All right, so there's our front one. And now we're going to work on this one. So again, we pulled out our Flirty Flamingo, knowing that that was the size that we wanted going this way. And then once you measure, if you're doing 1/4 of an inch, you go down 1/4 of an inch, which is where we got this piece. And then same with this. So we're going to go ahead and add our adhesive on here. Excuse me. All right. Oh, did you see I put it on the wrong side? Oh, see,
I was just going to say, no, Marcy,
it happens all the time. I'm telling you, we are not experts. We do not make mistakes. That's for sure. It's so funny because I have family that say, oh, so you do your videos and record them and then you do all the editing. I go, oh, no, I don't edit. No. All right, this is all teaching. So I do not.
We all learn from mistakes, don't we? And
Right.
it's not really mistakes. There's always a way around it.
Right. But I learn over and over and over sometimes. It just happens. All right. It's so funny because some people are like, did you see my comment on the video? And sometimes I'm like, I try, but sometimes it's hard. Oh, I have a tickle in my throat. Sorry about that. All right, so then same thing. I just kind of get an idea, let it go, make sure it looks the same. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. So now we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the binding piece here. And I don't always have your card, like I'll turn it to whatever is the easiest for me, and that's usually closest, so I'm up above it, especially on video. And we're just gonna, and sometimes I'll even grab it because my hands right here are gonna cover those edges, and I want to see edge to edge to make sure I'm aligned where I should be. So I'm gonna grab this here at the top, and I am going to go like this. So I can still see side to side now and the top and bottom. And remember, top and bottom is where your crease is at. All right, so I am good right there. Now our bow comes in, and let's hope, funny story. I did this bow and I was like, oh my gosh, it came out so pretty. I was so excited. And I do bows a lot, but I use other means to create my bows, not just tie them. Like this one will be tied because it's just the kind of card it is. So we're going to tie this in a bow, and I'm not here. I want it to be right in the middle. So let's hope that my bow, now I start small. I do really small bow because then you can pull it out bigger as you need it. So let me just grab my bow. Okay. And so there's your bow. All right. And now it's still loose. So I'm going to bring this one down to be equal to this one over here. And then I'm going to pull the sides that are on the bottom. This one's on the top, but this one's on the bottom because that's what's tightening this to be a little firm and a good bow. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this one a little because I want it to be that. And then I'm going to pull the looser part because I want the bow a little bit bigger. And then I just kind of adjust from there, get it to be the size that I want. Twist it a little, get it to be exactly what you want that bow to be. I want this one a little bigger. All right. So just kind of, fiddle with it, get it to where you want it to be. And then we're good. And I think that's good. It doesn't have to be super tight because we're going to secure it anyway. I want to make sure it's in the middle. So now we have time to kind of wiggle it, get it in the middle. Okay, now before we do anything else, I add a glue dot because I don't want my bow to move in transition. So you'll see what I mean. I'm going to take a glue dot and I'm just going to lift the knot up and put it right under the knot. So my bow, now I can kind of squish my little knot up there, make sure it looks good. And I can trim it when I'm done. And now watch this, Donna, it's liquid glue.
I was just going to say about the glue dot with the bow. So I actually learned a trick when it comes to tying linen thread. Linen thread and twine and myself just do not mix. And the one hint that I remember, I was watching a video one day and someone did it, and they actually put a glue dot underneath where they tied the first part of the bow. So when they wrapped both ends around and tied the first part, before you even start the loops of the bow, stick a glue dot under where the knot is going to be of your bow, and it holds it there in place instead of the finger, and you can actually tie a bow like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I use a bow maker or my fingers a lot, but I'll show you the fingers. I'll show you how I do it, but it comes out to be a bigger, looser, more not like distinctive kind of bow. So I'll show you. But at this point, what I do is I'm going to do something else with the front bow too, and that I always do. But we're going to turn it now because it's secure with that. And what I'm going to do is just kind of make sure it's even. And we're still going to have time to make some changes. Okay. So you can put a little more glue here if you want. I think as long as you put a little bit on each, it's fine. This one might be a lot though. That's kind of a lot. Okay. Now I'm going to close that. And what I like about liquid glue is it starts to get tacky, but it's still able that you can still kind of move it. And so I'm just going to adjust and make sure I have it right where I want it and let that sit for just a minute. And we're going to move it over. I'm not going to push down on it because the glue will squish out. So I'm just going to set that over there. And we are going to bring in our trimmer and work on our sentiment real quick. I realize that this camera is kind of zoomed in a lot and I'm not quite sure how to zoom it out. So we'll make it work next time. I have team meetings on Zoom and that's about it. So let's see, we're going to go and I just kind of keep looking at it to see about where I want it. The L's are going to come off. I do not measure right here unless I'm layering this up on something else. So I just kind of play with it. And then once the sentiment is about where I want it, and I just keep looking. Basically, my rule of thumb is if your top of your letter is right here touching the edge of your plastic, you're going to have that little bit of space above it to give it a little room. And I'm going to give it just a tiny bit more. right about there. So if it's right inside your plastic, then you get just enough to where you have space so it's not too close. Okay, so that's how I like to do it. And then if you look at the G, then that's the bottom of the paper. So it looks like it's a lot more down here, but it's that G that is what kind of more what you're looking for. All right.
So Cheryl, that's on YouTube with us here, she said that because I just said when you were doing the bow, does anyone struggle with bows? She said, I do the bunny ears, but I would love to get a bow maker. And I've actually been at Marcy's house when I've seen her sitting in her recliner chair in front of the TV doing her bows for her kits on her bow maker. And she whips them out pretty quick. So I
I'll,
sit and do them by
I'll
hand. But
yeah, I'll show you the two ways that I do them because I do by hand and I also do bow maker. All right, so right here, you could layer it up with the blue, you know, the secret C in the back, but this paper is pretty busy and I thought the white would make it stand out just a little bit more. So, you know, it's a preference. And so what I decided is at this point, sometimes I don't want to cut out, you know, 50 to 100 labels for a project or whatever I'm doing. And sometimes I just like, if this card's supposed to be simple. And so I like to just cut my sentiments. And usually I cut them the same, going the same way. Sometimes I don't. So you'll see this one. This one is cut this way and this way, or I'll do this way and this way. I don't do it this way and this way. Okay, so it just depends on, you know, what I mean. Sometimes I don't always do it this way or don't always do it this way. It's just kind of depends. So you'll see this one is coming right down, and this one is the right down, and then it goes like that. I'm doing it this way this time, just to show you, and I just cut it. I don't worry about, you know, sometimes I'll look at it and go, okay, so this tail is out a little too far. So I may go like this and put my scissors up against the top. And then I just bring it in a little bit. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. And a little bit more. So I just kind of get so that the angle is about the same. And so, but I don't get really technical about it. All right, so now I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals, and I don't know if I showed you guys. Oh, this was a boo-boo, but I didn't want to lose it, so I just put it on my thing here. All right, so we're going to add our dimensionals. I don't remember if I showed you how I do this with my dimensionals on my two previous videos or not, but if I didn't, I will show you next month on the next month's videos. All right, so we're going to take this and I'm going to put it right about here. Now, when I put a sentiment on, I like to leave space so you can see some color. And this one's pretty easy because even if the tip is touching, you still see some color, so that's fine. I'm also going to come back here and I'm going to trim my ribbon. And again, that's a preference on how short or long you want it. I think I want this a little shorter. So just kind of get your ribbon to go where you want it. And I'm going to go a little shorter on it. Be careful you don't cut your loop there. I'm going to go a little shorter. Okay, so I just wanted a little bit shorter. And then you're going to bring your gems in. And I just used the Secret C. They matched so great. Where did they go? Okay, it's right here. And then I did a large one right here. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different because this one, the flowers are kind of different. So I'm going to do here and up here, just so you can see them on the lighter color. And then I like to do another one. I'm going to actually do it down here. So it just gives you an idea of some different place. Now you could put it over here. A lot of times people like to do the triangle. There's not really a focal point other than the paper, so I left it like that. And that's how easy that card is. So, oh, now I can push my glue down because now it's tacky. And see how it's it's sticky now. So now that I pushed it down, and there you go. Cute little sentiment card. So let me show you my two bows real quick before Donna gets ready on her projects. Oh, one more thing. I always add glue to my bows. So when I do a glue dot under there, like if I have a bow, well, I'll show you on my other project. I'll add glue to that later, but you'll see what I mean because I don't want to take up all this time. But let me show you my ribbon. So if I do a bow, two things I like to do. If I'm doing a mass production in bows, I will take one of my bow makers and I will put my peg up and I will put my ribbon on it like that. Even if I'm sitting at my desk at my in my recliner at night, I put a laptop thing or even my laptop sometimes. I put a silicone mat so this can stay on my silicone mat so it doesn't really move. I usually do my bows where there's one dot in the middle. This is the website, but I don't know where she mails to. I don't, you'll have to check. But and she is a demonstrator or was a demonstrator. I don't know if she still is. And then I just set this aside and then I take my my bow maker and then work with this one. Oh, I just lost my foot. This is really old bow maker, by the way. All right. So what I do, and she has videos on this, and you can use other items if you have somebody that can make this, then you know, you can, she does have a lot of videos online. So you start in the back and I go around up and then around into the center. And this one's at the bottom. And then you put this one in the center, bring it over. And I'm just going to do it fast so you can see how it works. You take the bottom one, you go over and bring it back through. And now you just have to tie your knot. And then you wiggle, 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 get that knot tight, slide it off. And then you've got this beautiful little bow. And they go tiny, so you can make tiny, tiny bows. I even do it with linen. And then there's your bow. And then you can just, I'm going to leave this one alone because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But there you go. So you can do all your little bows on there and have your bows. And normally what I would do is I would take my glue dots and I would put it on here. I'm just going to show you because I've got a project I'm using this on anyway. And then I always add glue. Always add glue like that. And then I will glue it to my project like that, let it sit, and then come back and cut my little tails to the size that I want. So that's how I do that bow. My hand, the bows I used to do with my hands all the time, which I'm going to move this one over now, someplace safe. So the ones I do with my hands is basically the same. I learned this first before I had a bow maker. And this, I do have a video on my YouTube. So you guys can go and watch it and watch it and watch it and kind of figure it out because it took me a long time. I was like, I will never get this. Hold it right here with your middle finger. Have this one up. This is the gauge on what size you want your bow. So you want it right about at your knuckle is what you're going to basically hold it at. All right, so it just depends. So I usually go like here and then I kind of decide like, okay, that's about the size I want. So I go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and 1, 2. So I did, it depends on if you want a 3 bow or a 2 bow. So let's do a 3 bow. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to hold it here because this is your 3. This is your 3 because this is going to be in your bow. This will not be in your bow. Okay, that's the tail. All right, so one more time. 1, 2, 3. And then you can do this one back here and up. All right. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to go like this because you need your third one. And then you're going to go over. And now I'm going to cut it because I kind of get an idea of how much I need. And sometimes you'll see me on a video, like I'll do this and then I'll cut it and then I'll start over. But especially since I just lost my tail. And then you're going to go over and under. So kind of the same thing as the bow maker. Now this one's going to be sloppy because it's kind of getting big now. And then you pull it because your tail is over here. You pull it this way and then you take your, see, it got a little loose right there, but that's okay. You get the idea. And then you've got a looser bow than what, you know, you would normally get with a bow maker. So it's, and I do them a lot smaller, but this just kind of gave you an idea. And then you can, you know, fix it. And if you did it right, you wouldn't pull that last one and it got loose. And then you would just have your bow to add on your card. So you could add this loopy bow here if you know, wanted a bigger loopy bow. And it just depends on, you know, what kind of bow you want. Usually I'll do that with a lot thinner ribbon and a lot more loose ribbon because it gives you a lot more room to play with it than the firmer ribbon. So anyway, there you go. So here is card number 3. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Well done. Beautiful card. I'm going to have to try those bows. What do you think, everyone? I think we might have to have a go at trying those bows. I'm just that I'm known as the bow lady from Bow Desert, and I'm just the typical one bow, but I'm looking at that triple one you just did, and I'm like, that could be very nice. So, all right, so now it's my turn. I am going to show you a little bit about a new thing that we have coming in Stampin' Up, and it's coming on the 3rd of February, and it is called our stamp positioning tool. So some of you may know we actually had the Stamparatus, which was a fantastic tool. And then of course, there were some issues with another company, and of course, Stampin' Up decided that they would remove it from our product line, and we were all devastated. So I was super excited when they announced that we had a stamp positioning tool because this one is similar to our Stamparatus, but this one, it's when I say it's similar, it does the repetitive stamping. I did do a video only 2 days ago showing you all different tips and tricks, and I can honestly tell you I have been learning so many different tricks with this stamp positioning tool since I got it, and I've only had it for 2 days. So but I wanted to show you, in case you didn't see that video, I wanted to show you, because on my card today I want to show you a couple of ways that you would use this stamp positioning tool. Now, the way that you can get it is if you're already a demonstrator, you can actually purchase one right now, and your opportunity to purchase one right now, it will end at midnight on Tuesday night. So sorry, on the 2nd, sorry, not Tuesday night, the 2nd of February. So it will end the opportunity to buy it. They have said that they will have it as an item that you can purchase later on, but they're not telling us what time, around about a date. They're giving no confirmation of when the date's going to be. So if you're a demonstrator and you want to get your hands on it, my suggestion is put it in your shopping cart right now and buy it, because you have until the 2nd of February to buy it. For everyone else, if you're a customer, you can actually purchase this, the starter kit, and you will get this stamp positioning tool for free. So when you see how I can use it today and how much easier it's going to make a lot of the stamping that I'm doing today, because I'm using a 2-stage stamp today. So I've been using the Impressions A Bloom for my Aussie people. And it's a 2-stage stamping. So what 2-stage stamping means is we've got a solid stamp and we've got a detailed stamp. So a lot of times people will have a hard time trying to line these stamps up. With a stamp positioning tool, it takes all the guessing game out of it and makes it so much easier. So if you are brand new to crafting, or you've been crafting for a while and you struggle with these 2-stage stamps, I'm telling you, this is a game changer. So as I said, it will be available in a starter kit on the 3rd of February, and it's only going going to be available. The starter kit special is only for the month of February. So if you're a customer and you've been thinking about maybe getting a discount and maybe becoming a part of Stampin' Up, then it's definitely going to be February is the time to do it because you're going to get this stamp positioning tool for free. All right, so let's pop the camera down. So I've gone ahead of time and I have done a little bit of prep beforehand. So and I've left my card base because for my Aussie people, I actually cut the cardstock in half, but you all know with me, I actually cut my card bases down a little bit compared to what our cardstock is. So we actually have to do a little bit of modification to these two that we have folded in half. And I know in the video that I did in the group, I actually only used part of it. This one, I'm actually going to use the whole, and this is what we call a hot dog style card. So that was very similar to what Marcy did, but she used hers in the landscape orientation. This is in the portrait orientation that looks like a hot dog style. So I'm actually going to use it in the portrait orientation. So we're going to have to cut that down a little bit, which I'll show you in a minute. Now I've used our template. So I've out of our strawberry slush cardstock, I've done the basic gray template. I've also done out of white cardstock. I've done the petal pink in our square template. Then I have in strawberry slush again, I have done our black contrast layer. That's the one that our black template is called the contrast layer. So we have the black one, and then I've also cut a piece of basic white to our berry burst layer. So they are the templates that we're going to be using: the basic gray, petal pink, basic black, and berry burst. Now I'm actually not using a lot of designer series paper on this, so I decided that I would use some of the designer series paper that we have to actually cut out some die cuts. So I've cut out some die cuts out of the designer series paper to make the flowers, and I've also cut out some to make the leaves for the card that we're going to do. So this card is called an easel card. There is all different types of easel cards out there. The easel card is something that I have absolutely loved in my whole time that I've been crafting and creating cards. And it's really funny because it's a card that sometimes people don't get the gist of how it works. And I have had many people, I've had team members of mine, I've had people that have come to retreats that have struggled with how the actual easel card works. And I'm going to show you, it's quite easy, but it goes against what we normally do. We fold a card base in half, and you would think with some of the fun folds that you would naturally fold the next bit back to make a fun fold, like a Z fold. This, you actually fold it again in. So I'm going to show you. So for our Aussie people, we actually do have to cut down a slither of this. For the US people, like honestly, this is only because I had to cut the cardstock like this. So I've actually just cut 1/8 of an inch off there, and I've got it folded. I'm actually going to put it at our card base height, and I'm just going to cut, and that's another 1/8 of an inch. So that's the only bit that we're cutting off there, but that's to get it to our normal regular card base size. So those two pieces you would have had to cut to those card base sizes anyway. All right. So we have that. Now, how I was saying about typically with a fun fold, you may want to do a fun fold where you fold this back and then you end up with that like Z fold type of thing. With an easel card, I'm actually folding it the opposite way. So we've already folded in half, and I'm just going to burnish it with my bone folder. So we've already folded in half. Now, no measuring here. This is the front of our card base. I'm actually going to take the front of that card base. I'm going to take it to that fold line and press it down and burnish it. And that's all we have to do. So there's no measuring whatsoever. We are just going to burnish it like that. Now, the front of our card base is going to look like that. So that's actually going to start, and I'm going to show you like this. That's actually going to start our easel card, but we're doing it in portrait landscape. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've cut the square template I've got in our berry burst, and then I've got the white bit that's going to layer on here. So we've got that 1/4 of an inch border that we've got there. I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to use the new stamp positioning tool, and I'm just going to show you how we can actually stamp and create some really cute flowers using this stamp positioning tool. So this is a brand new tool. As I said, we are able to buy it at the moment, and you will be able to get it in a starter kit. The one thing in the starter kit, these grid papers don't come with the actual stamp positioning tool. They are another added thing that you can purchase as well. You don't have to have them. I actually think it's nice. They've got like little holes here that it stays in place for you. We've got little magnets to hold our paper down or our cardstock. Now on this, you can see, I'm going to bring it up here. It's probably a bit hard to see with the video, but there is actually a triangle right here in that middle section. There's a triangle, and these are little pegs that stick up. I don't know whether I can turn it sideways. Can you see how they're little pegs and they stick up? So I'm actually going to place my white piece of cardstock. Now, you really have to make sure that you've got this triangle lined up here, because I was playing with it a little bit, and if you've slightly got it not lined up with that triangle, this is not going to work. So you really have to make sure that you've definitely got the triangle lined up on both sides of the cardstock. And then I'm going to add one of my magnets there and one of my magnets there. Oh, and I've got it the wrong way. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the stamp where I want the stamp to be. Now, in particular, when I do a two-stage stamp, I'm just going to show you the two stamps. And yes, mine are colored because they've been used quite a lot, and that's what happens with photopolymer stamps. But we have a detailed stamp and we have a solid stamp. So the solid stamp is what's going to color your flower. The detailed stamp is what's going to give all that fine detail and make it actually look like a flower, because this will just look like a blob sitting there. It'll look a little bit like a flower, but not definitely a flower. So how I've always done my two-stage stamping, and I know that everyone is different. Some people stamp the solid bit first. I have always done the detailed part first. Now, I'm actually going to do just an arrangement of flowers. I'm going to do a large flower in the corner here. Then I'm going to do a smaller one there and a smaller one there. Now, with this, I'm going to sit the stamp where I actually want it to stamp on the corner of that cardstock. So I'm just going to quickly show you my sample. So I'm stamping the flower that's in underneath here. So I'm going to show you, this is on Designer Series paper 2. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways how to do it. So I want to position the stamp where I think I want it to sit on that cardstock. Now, with our large plate, we have two holes. So we've got a hole here and we have a hole here. They have these pegs. There's one here and there's one up the top. And can I get it down in here far enough? Yes, I can. All right, so there's one up the top and one down the bottom. We hook that over those two pegs, and we've got little legs on the bottom here. So you can see here, there's a leg there and a leg there. So we hook it over there and we have our legs that are going to sit down. So that's now hovering above where that stamp is. If I quickly just push it down a little, I will pick that stamp up. Now, sometimes because they're photopolymer stamps, they will pull your cardstock up with it, which it has done. So I'm going to now make sure that I've got that positioned again. So I've got my stamp on my plate. I'm going to make sure I've got that positioned really good on that triangle, because it's really important that we have that there because of the second stage stamp and we want it to line up. All right, so I'm going to take my strawberry slush and I'm going to ink up, and I get inky when I use these things, so I do apologize because I do get quite inky. I'm going to try and be careful while I'm doing this video, but anyway. So I'm then going to put it back onto my pegs and I'm going to push it down, and that is going to stamp my flower perfectly there. Okay. So now the one thing that, and this is where you get inky, is cleaning your stamps off. And with our Stamparatus, we had more plates that we could purchase. So I'm hoping that when they do bring it out, that they allow us to be able to. I just took a chamois then and just cleaned that. Now I'm going to pull that stamp off. The next thing I'm going to do is get my solid stamp. And now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to sit the solid stamp over the top of this lined image. I'm going to sit it over and line it up where it's got to sit to stamp over the top of that image. Okay, so because I've done the detail bit, I can see through that stamp and I can see exactly where I need that solid bit to be. So I've got that positioned exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to bring back in my plate again and I'm going to lightly pick it up And hopefully my cardstock didn't move. I'm going to move it a little bit more. All right. Now I'm going to ink up with a totally different color this time. I'm going to ink up with, I was going to say petal pink. I'm going to ink up with Pretty in Pink. And that's my solid stamp. And I'm going to pop that over again. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to stamp. And that's going to do my solid bit over the top. And look at that. Now, here, I haven't pressed it hard enough down there. I can put it back on without re-inking and definitely press it down there. There was a little bit there that didn't stamp exactly right and get it done properly. All right. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I now want to take that off and I'm going to put the little flower on. Now, you can keep rotating this and do like a wreath of flowers and things, which I showed in my video the other day. For this one, I'm actually not going to do that. All I want to do now is line up the little small one where I want it. So I think I want like a little small flower just here. Did I do it like that? There. Now I'm going to bring in the small attachment. So this small attachment hooks onto our pegs again. We're going to make sure we got our little legs down there, which we have. It hooks onto our 2 pegs there. So that's actually going to work well. So I'm going to pick that stamp up again, like that. Okay, make sure my cardstock didn't move and my stamp's a little bit dirty, but that's okay. We're going to ink up with our Strawberry Slush again. This time I'm going to show you something that I actually want to stamp off. So say you want to do the solid part, but you don't want to do it full strength. You want to actually have a lighter color. So I'm going to pop that down and I'm going to stamp my little flower there. So we've got that. Okay, so with the solid bit, I'm going to line up my solid bit on that stamp, and I sometimes struggle with this little flower, which way it goes, but I think that's it. I'm nearly sure that's it there. Okay, so I'm going to line up. No, it's not that. That's not it. There. I'm going to line up that solid stamp on there. I'm going to clean this one off. Now, I want to use Timid Tiger, but I want to stamp off. So you're thinking, well, how do you stamp off? Like you're going to line up that flower there. How are you going to stamp off? I'm going to add this on here. I'm going to pick up my little stamp like so. Okay, I'm going to grab my Timid Tiger and I'm going to ink that up. And I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper, which I've just got a scrap piece here. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper and I'm going to pop that scrap piece of paper just in there over that flower. Make sure I get the right pegs lined up, which I have. Now, all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to stamp down on that scrap. That's going to take that first lot of the color off. I'm then going to not re-ink. I'm going to take that paper away and now I'm going to stamp down. And now I'm going to have the lighter shade over the top. So that's as easy as it is if you needed to stamp off. You just throw a piece of paper in there, stamp it down, and then go again. All right, so we're going to do that little flower again because I want to have another little flower over this side. And then I'm going to show you a really cool way of if you want to stamp several flowers at once. Sorry, several flowers, and you want to do repetitive stamping of flowers. So I'm just going to line that one up. That one's actually not going to line up where I want it to be. We're going to have to overlap here a bit, I think. Let me see. Oh, no, I can go down there further. All right, so I'm going to line that up. And I'm going to line that up, pick up my stamp. This is my detailed stamp again. So I'm going to grab my... Oh, where did I just put that Strawberry Slush there? Ink it up. Pop it on. Stamp it down. Then, of course, we're going to, once again, line up that little solid stamp, which I think it goes there. That looks like it. Clean this one off. The only reason I say about getting extra plates is, and Marcy and I were talking about this morning when we were on, just having to take the stamp off and put another stamp on. Like we had multiple plates that you could buy with our Stamparatus. So we were able to have multiple plates and we were able to rotate them and use them, like, and so you could have like quite a few stamps lined up all at once and be able to do it. So I'm going to do that. Now, remember, we're going to, and I'm better ink it up properly. We're going to stamp off again. So we've got to make sure that we put a piece of scrap paper over our flower there. We line up our stamp and stamp it off. And then, of course, we line up our stamp again and we stamp down and we've got that beautiful stamped off look. Okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you is I want to actually stamp these die cuts. Okay. So I've got flowers that I actually want to stamp. I'm going to pop that aside. So I want to stamp these flowers. So the easiest way to stamp these flowers is to make a template to be able to do that. Now, back in the day, I used to make a template where I would cut the die cut out, then I would put the stamp in the die cut, and then I discovered something the other day when I was actually having a fun time with this. You can actually just stamp directly down onto here and then put your flower over the top. So are you ready for this? This is quite mind-blowing. All right, so now let me see that I'm going to get that definitely. I'm just going to use a small one here because I feel like it's a little bit easier to handle. Just going to make sure that when I put that flower down that it's going to sit within the border of that there. So I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up that flower like so. God, I'm bad with ink with these things, but anyway. So I'm going to ink that up. I'm going to stamp that flower down there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my flower over the top. And all you've got to do is put your flower over the top that you can't see any of that you've stamped, okay? I'm going to ink this up again. And I'm going to, I was thinking, why is that not working? Because I had it around the wrong way. I'm going to ink that up again. And now I'm just going to press down and I will have my die cut flower stamped. As easy as anything. So now all I've got to do is keep lining those flowers up on here. Now I only need 2 for my card, but I did put 3 out here just in case I messed up. Just in case I was like, oh yeah, this is so easy. And then I just made a fool of myself and made a mess of it. But there. And I'm going to stamp down. And so I've got 2 really easy die cut flowers. And it hasn't been that big of a drama. Now, I'm not going to, with these ones, I'm not going to do the solid stamp because I've actually got the Designer Series paper here, so I don't actually need to do the solid stamp. Now, I am going to cheat because I am so used to free stamping and not using a stamp positioning tool that for the rest of these bits and pieces, I'm actually just going to freehand stamp. So I have the centers of the flowers here that I want to do, and I need to do it on this one as well. So I'm just going to take crumb cake, going to ink up, I'm going to hover over the top of that and do a crumb cake center. So we have that there. Then I'm going to take my large one here, and I've got a bit of ink swatch over here, but it doesn't matter because my die cut flower is probably going to cover it anyway. And the small flowers, I'm going to ink up there and there. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do there. I will actually show you one more thing with that stamp positioning tool and our small plate. So let me just clean that up. I'm going to stamp the sentiment. So if you're someone that struggles with sentiments, this is going to be a game changer for you. So I've got a large strip of basic white cardstock here. Now, if you line your cardstock up that you have it on a straight line, you've got to be in the middle of these 2 pegs when you're going to use the small bit, because you need to have your platform that it's going to come out and hover over the top of this. So you've actually got to have your strip. You can't have your strip down here because you're going to be half on the platform and half not. So you've got to be in between 2 of these pegs. So line it up on, say, I'm going to take that dotted line there as where I'm going to line it up. So I'm going to line it up there. I'm going to add a magnet on that end and a magnet on that end. I'm going to then take my sentiment, which is I appreciate you. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to line that up and I'm going to look at where I want that to sit on my bit of paper. And then I'm going to just take my little, whoops, take the flower off, could help. I cleaned it and then forgot to take the flower off. So let's line that up again. Okay. And in case you didn't know, when I was giving an example of this, the photopolymer stamps stick to my fingernails, and every time I go to move something, they stick to it really bad. But anyway, so now you can see here, it's pulled up my cardstock again. So now I can reposition that cardstock and go, you know what? I want that to be exactly there. Okay, now I can ink that up. And I can stamp down on that sentiment strip, and I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to rock my block or whether I haven't got it lined up straight. We've already lined it up when we put the stamp on there, and bam, we have our sentiment strip done. So even just for that, I know that a lot of my team members, when we had the Stamparatus, liked it just to be able to line up their sentiments on their cards and get them stamped exactly right. All right, let's start putting this card together. So I've got the card base bottom, this is the inside. So I'm just going to adhere those together. Now I could have done some more stamping in here if I wanted to. I just chose to do and the reason why I like the liquid glue is you get that wiggle room. So you get that time to line it up and get your borders all nice and straight. So that's why I've been a liquid glue from day one. Then we're going to take our piece, and I've got so much ink over this piece, but I'm hoping that our sentiment strip's going to cover it, and our flower down here will cover where I don't know what I did. I must have sat it here against something. All right, so I'm going to adhere those two together. Like so. So once again, you've got that 1/4 of an inch that we've done. We've stepped it down that 1/4 of an inch, so you've got that border all the way around. Now, the reason why I've got a flower, I want to pop a flower up here on the inside, and you're going to see why. So I've got a couple of leaves that I'm just going to pop in. Now, I could physically, actually, you know what? Maybe I should just do it. I was going to say I could physically stamp some leaves here, which I have some die cut ones, but we could stamp some. I have the leaf stamp here. Why not? How long do we want to be on this video for? All right, so I'm actually just going to use that flower as a guide, and I'm just going to move it away, and I'm going to stamp. And I'm just going to use the detailed stamp here with these leaves because the detailed stamp is really pretty, and I don't think it needs coloring even after that. So I'm going to end up with a little, so why I'm saying that I could have just stamped the flowers on here, you actually need a flower to pop up to hold our easel part. So you actually need to pop something up on this insert layer. So that's actually why I was saying that I wasn't going to stamp it, but we will add a little bit of stamping in here just because we can. And as you can see, I'm used to free stamping and doing it. But of course, when we're brand new crafters, that free stamping, even though for us as seasoned crafters, we think it's easy, sometimes it's actually not that easy for people. All right, so we've got that sorted. Now, what I'm actually going to do with this one, so we're going to bring in our card base again. This one here, we've got to remember, this is going to adhere onto here. And because I've done the template size, it's actually giving us that it's a 1/4 of an inch smaller than the width of our card base. So it's actually giving us that nice border. So we've got the white that we can see, we've got the strawberry slush, then we've got our white layer. So we've got to remember, this is going to sit up like this. So we don't want to put glue on this part here. So if you struggle with things like that, maybe you could draw like a pencil line. Maybe you could move it up a little tiny bit, draw a pencil line, and then put glue on it. But I know that I'm just going to put glue on that bottom section. So I'm just going to do that. Whoops. And I went off, and now I've got glue on my desk. All right, so I've just put it on that bottom section. The easiest way to do this is to fold it flat and then line it up like you would normally line up your front layer. And because you've only put glue on that bottom section, then when it sits up, it actually has that bit that sits up, okay? So now you're going to understand the reason why we have to pop this flower up is we need something that when we've got this card sitting up in the upright position, if we didn't have anything there, it'd want to just keep sliding down. So we actually have to have something popped up there to actually hold it there in the first place. So let's adhere that layer on the inside. So once again, lining that up and getting the, getting the wiggle room. Oh, wow, what am I doing here? Start again. Having that wiggle room. And I didn't leave myself enough wiggle room. Hang on, I'll go again. See, we can do this with liquid glue. If we don't quite get it straight, we can do it. That's because I normally have it up when I put it in. All right, so then we can wiggle it, get it where we want it to be, get that nice border, and we're done. All right. Now, I'm going to pop this flower up on dimensional so that that will have somewhere for it to sit. And also too, if you're going to add leaves in underneath, like, so when you've got something like this and you're going to add leaves underneath, put your dimensionals in the middle of your flower so that then you've got room to be able to tuck your leaves in underneath. So I'm just going to pop that flower right there like that. Then with my leaves, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue just on the end. I'm not putting glue on the tip of the leaf because it will then allow that leaf, you could actually curl them up a little bit and get them to look a little bit more real. So just on the base of the leaf. And then, whoop. Wow, I'm getting glue everywhere here today. And I don't normally do that with glue. There we go. And so, as I said, you can curl that little end up and make it look more. That's because my fingernails are longer than they normally are, and I'm struggling with how long they are. All right, there you go. So we've got our leaves that look more lifelike. Now with the sentiment, exactly what Marcy was saying, I trim my sentiments down. So this here, I would not necessarily put a sentiment on that thick. This is actually like a strip from when I cut layers and things. They're leftover strips. I never ever throw them away because I use them all the time for my sentiments. So and I'm going to bring in another little tool that we love with Stampin' Up, but we were able to purchase it at one stage. So this is another indication of sometimes when they say we will have it available, we waited and waited for a long, long time for this little baby to come. All right, so I'm just going to, all I'm doing is taking a slither off the bottom. I'm going to take another bit off the top just to make sure that I've got that a little bit more narrow so it's not a big, thick, chunky sentiment. All right. Now what I do is exactly like what Marcy was doing, saying about angling the end of it. Now I actually want mine to angle just on one end. So I'm actually just going to cut it and angle it just on one end. Now on this end here, I actually want to have it that it's going to be lined up with that white layer here. So I'm actually going to bring back in my little trimmer and cut it off at the length that I need it. So I just line it up on this line here, bring it into as far as I need it to go. So I've got that straight. Now you could do that freehand, like you could use your scissors and do it freehand. Let me tell you, I have tried to do that and I don't cut straight. So, and that's a bit scary because I'm a hairdresser by trade, but I can cut hair straight, but I can't cut paper straight. I don't know what it is, but I've always been that way. So now I'm going to add some dimensionals and pop that layer up. So the reason why I cut the angle, I wanted the angle to come in. I needed the straight edge to be able to line it up on the front here, but I wanted the angle to come in just to create a little bit of interest on the front of the card. So we're going to do that. Okay. And I'm going to cover my ink splotches that were there. So we're going to luckily cover those. Now this flower here, I wanted an extra one just to pop up, just to add a bit of 3D happening on the front. So you can see here, the flower that we've got here that's popped up, it's actually holding our easel card. So it gives it somewhere for it to actually rest in there when it's actually open. So I'm going to add some dimensionals on the back of that one. I'm probably going to add some leaves. I didn't do it on my sample card, but I'll probably add some leaves in here as well because that'll make it look pretty. Now this will work with any flower type of stamp and die set that you have. Like honestly, if you don't have the exact stamp that I'm using, you just find something in your stash that is going to be similar. And when I look at cards, I just look at the fact like, well, that's a floral stamp. I've got lots of flower stamps. Let's just grab out one of my flower sets. So, and a typical example was when I did my live video, I think last week or maybe the week before, I got out the wrong stamp set. It was one of the new ones and I got out the wrong stamp set. So I ended up using the stamp set that I got out and made a similar card to what was made with the actual stamp set I should have had. And it looked very similar. You would never have known, only that the flower was a little bit bigger. So, so now all I need to do is take my embellishments, and I normally use my take your pick tool. My people got some little pearls, so I'm actually just going to, I like to just nestle some in just around what we have done there. And actually, you know, I think 2 is quite enough. Now, you all know me. I'm the bow lady from Bow Desert, and I'm also the Wink of Stella lady as well. So I love adding Wink of Stella to everything I do. So I'm just going to add a little bit to my flower on the front, a little bit to the flower on the inside. And then, of course, my spritzing trick. So I squeeze a little bit of Wink down in there. I spritz it across the front of my card. I also like to do the inside of the card. So I like to have that spritz happening on the inside. It gives like a beautiful shimmer and shine, which hopefully you can see that in the video with the lights. And all we need to do now is add a bow. So for my members, there was a couple of different sheer ribbons you got. Some people got the silver edge one, some people got the iridescent one, but you would have got like a really nice, I love these sheer bows, and this is how I tie my bow. So I tie them by hand, and that's just how I've always done them. But and I just make sure that I've got my two loops looking the same, trim it off. And then, of course, I'm going to add that with a glue dot. And I actually thought about, Marcy, when you said about adding the glue at the back of your ribbon, and I do agree with that, actually. I'm going to probably try and do that in future, because normally I just do a glue dot and I pop it on. But how many times do we do that glue dot and pop it on, and then we find that we go back to the card a day or so later and our bow was dropped off? Like, and
Realize
the bow back on.
There's many times that I received cards where the bows have come off.
Yep.
And I don't want my cards to be received like that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start adding glue, because for all I know, mine are falling off in the mail too. Because if you think about the heat and the cold and everything they go through, you know, you just never know. And I just want to make sure that they don't go anywhere.
So there you go. That is my card for the fun fold. So it will fold flat to go into an envelope, and then when the recipient gets it, they're able to pop it up, and it gives you lots of room to be able to write up in here. So you could write up in here so that when they actually have it on display, that all you see is just the card itself, so you don't have any writing down here. So you've got a large space up there to be able to write if that's what you want to do. But there you go. And the only one thing that I find that people struggle with the most is the fact that this actually folds down and in, like in that way. Like that is where people struggle the most. And all it is really just to give it an angle for you to actually put a layer on to be able to get that really nice easel card. So there you go. There is my card, and I promise for the members, I will do my second card, and it will be up today. So let's actually spotlight Marcy again. Where are we? There we go. There we are. So that is our first basic foundations of card making craft along. So if you want to be a part of our craft along, I have a link in the bottom of this video, and normally we will stream both out to both YouTube channels. So normally it will stream to Marcy's as well. We had a technical glitch this morning because I've never hooked Marcy's YouTube up to my streaming service before. So something's going on there, but I will get to the bottom of that and we will get that sorted. You may see us pop up next week doing a trial to see if it will work, but we definitely need it to get working properly. But if you want to be a part of it, you have until the 31st of January to be a part of it for our February. And we are doing Clean and Simple cards next month. So Clean and Simple cards, we are going to show you how you can use your DSP and how you can use the reverse side as a contrast layer, like what Marcy was talking about in her card this morning, like flipping that paper over. So cutting a piece off and then flipping that paper over, and then that giving you a different look to your card. So that is what we're going to be concentrating on next month. And we're also going to be doing the 1/8 template next month. So for the people that when Marcy was talking about 1/8, and especially for my members that we've only been working with a 1/4 inch, Rose and I were going to get to the 1/8 inch and we didn't get to it. Marcy brought it up that she does a 1/8 inch quite a lot. So do I. You all know that I do. And so we decided that that's what we would introduce for next month as well. So you will get access to the templates next month for all the members. If you want to be a part of it, definitely use the link down in the description below for me. And where would they go, Marcy, for you to be able to join up?
If you go to marcybestthecurd.com, at the top of the page, you'll see where it'll say classes, bingo, things like that you can find. You're going to go in there under the classes, and it's going to be there. A link will be there for you to sign up.
And the same with me. Mine's in upcoming classes and events, and you scroll down until you can see the basic foundations of card making. You just click on the subscribe button. It'll take you straight through to the payment. Yours would do the same thing, Marcy? Is that?
Yep. Yep. And then also there's a question on there. What would you like to see in the class? So that way we can kind of get an idea and maybe get that incorporated in our class. So make sure you do that. Fill that part out. If you are new and you are already on the group, so what we're going to do when February comes along, make sure you search for our Facebook page that you're already in for January. So it's going to be the basic foundations of card making, and look for February and make sure you join.
So there's a new Facebook group every month. So for the members that have been members for the last 12 months, they're all pretty used to the fact that they go and search. We invite you, don't get us wrong, we invite you, but if you miss that invitation in your notifications on Facebook, you may miss it. If you miss that invitation, all you need to do is search up Basic Foundations of Card Making, whatever month it is and the year, and it will pop up. And then all you do is you ask to join, and then we as moderators, when we know that you're a member of ours, we will accept you in there and you will be a part of it. So for anyone that's brand new, even if you're a crafter and you've been crafting for a while now and you have struggled with being able to get your card bases and your layers, and you've been struggling with the actual design process, this group is definitely for you. So don't think that it's just really easy crafting that you think, oh no, I'm more advanced than that. There is so many tips and tricks that you're going to learn from us, and even just with having Marcy being a new creative coach here in the Basic Foundations of Card Making, we're going to learn brand new things from Marcy as well. We all know that we learned things from Rose learned things from me. So this is how we broaden our creative experience, is by learning from others. So you will definitely pick up tips and tricks along the way, and we're going to create some beautiful cards. So you want to be a part of it. And this template is a game changer, I'm telling you. It physically will make you be able to look at a card in a different way, and to be able to say, I can make that card. I don't need to message that person for the measurements. I can make that card. Colleen's saying I've learned a lot from it. So Colleen's one of the members. And yeah, And that is the consensus of most of our members, saying that it has really made their card making so much easier. They're feeling more confident with their card making. And that's what we want. We want you to be confident. We want you to enjoy your card making, and we don't want it to be stressful. Like when I hear, I don't know about you, Marcy, but when I hear brand new crafters or people that have been crafting for so long saying, "Oh my God," and getting all flustered, I'm worried, because I think they don't need to be like that. This is an enjoyable hobby to have, like so.
Well,
um
I just have to share a funny story is I was in charge of a swap one time and I put rules out there because there's rules in swaps, as you know. And you need to have your 2 layers and you need to have an embellishment and you need to have a sentiment and you need to have everything has to be straight and aligned and everything. So I specifically wrote everything out on the rules and said, just be aware of the rules. This is how the rules are in a swap, because people are afraid to do swaps and you don't need to be. But I wrote them all out and they were new to swaps. I had a group of girlfriends that, well, they're now my girlfriends, but they were friends that
Yep.
wanted to join the swap. And they said, well, we were thinking of joining your swap, but there's a lot of rules in there and we don't think we can do it. I said, make a card that you think you want to enter into a swap, and I'll tell you what needs to be done and changed that's acceptable in most swaps, because there's usually general rules. And then there's other swaps that are really like, fancy fold or this or that, but you can do general swaps. And so they did their swap and they sent it to me, and they might have had like a layer missing on the inside or, whatever. And they're like, that's all I have to change. And I'm like, yeah, you
And it was
have your two
stopping them from doing
layers.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I could do it. And it's like, as long as you have your 2 layers and it's not as difficult as it seems, but you just read everything and go, yep, yep, yep. And that's kind of what we're trying to teach you is it's way easier than you think.
And also too, like, as far as and Marcy and I, we've been discussing this in length in the last week or 2 weeks. And a lot of people go, oh, I love your card, but there's no way I could make a card like that. Yes, there is. Like in all honesty, it is just the basic knowledge of how to put a card together. And with the right instruction, anyone can make any card. And I am here to be a testament to it, because I can guarantee that the majority of my team members will all make cards like I make, because they have learnt from me and because I've been consistent like that all across the board. And putting layers on the inside of your card is no different to putting a layer on the outside of your card. You're just putting it on the inside. The amount of people that tell me that they do not do anything on the inside of their cards, I'm alarmed, because I believe that a card is not finished unless it has something on the inside of the card. Now, there are ways that you can, if your supplies are very minimal and you don't have the amount of card stock, there are ways that if you've got a basic white card, you could stamp directly onto the base. You do run the issue, though, if you stamp directly onto the base, what happens if you make a mistake? Then you have to try and cover it. And if you've stamped right out to the edge, it's very hard to cover something like that. So depending on what supplies you've got on hand, but definitely putting layers and things on the inside and putting layers on the outside, like, it is all physically just a case of having a method of how you do it, and starting from what your card base is, starting from what the next layer is. It is all just the method of putting it together, and anyone can make cards like any of us. I'm telling you, because you do not have to be a seasoned crafter to be able to make a card. Either of the cards that we have made here today, anybody can make those cards, because you only need to know how to put the right layers on. And that is really the key to it, is putting
And
the
adding layers makes your card so substantial. It just really makes it better. It stands up better. It's just a much better thing. And I wanted to go back a little bit to what Donna said about even if you are a more seasoned stamper, this is a great class to do because there's things that you remember. There's things that you might think learn a different way Donna and I do things different ways. So you're going to see a lot of that, like, oh, I like that way better than that way, or I always done it this way, but that way actually is kind of nice. Or there might be a reason why you want to try it a different way. And I've been crafting, I always have to go by my son's age. He's going to be 36 this year. So I've been crafting for 35 years and doing paper crafting and among all kinds of other crafting. My husband just told me the other day, a friend of his said, how did your wife get like she does? Because of course I like to, interior design and, how does she know the colors go together? My mom is very crafty. It just, and if you just put yourself in it, you'll learn it. But I still learn new stuff all the time. So I see people do stuff like I will be sharing how to make your dimensionals be automatically sticky immediately. I saw that and I was like, how many years have I not done this? And I mass produce and I have tendonitis or whatever you want to call it in my hand. And I have to pull those little dimensional backs off when I'm making hundreds of cards at a time. This is brilliant. So I'll be showing that on my next video. But
And there is
crazy.
lots of things. I remember Rose had no idea. I color with Wink of Stella. With all of our
Oh yeah.
Inkpad colors, I color with Wink of Stella. She had never done it and said to me, you need to show me how to do that. We're doing that this month. So now Rose has been with Stampin' Up for, I think, 25 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure. And she has never colored with Wink of Stella. So Rose even learned something. So no matter what stage of craft you're at, you're going to learn something, I'm telling you. So if you want to be a member for February, the cutoff date is the 31st of January. So for us here in Australia, it's the 30th. You've got today or tomorrow to sign up. For the US, you've got an extra day because you're a day behind us. So you've got an extra day to sign up. But if you're interested, please head on over to Marcy's. If you're from the US, you can go to Marcy. If you're from Australia, you can come to my website, which is stampingwithdonnag.com. If you are from anywhere else, you can choose either one of us. We have an international option. But if you are in those buying areas, if you're in the US or if you're in Australia, the only option is to get the actual product sent out to you. That is the only option. The only international option is for people outside of the US and outside of Australia. So that's the only way that you're allowed to have access to that international option. But we have that for anyone. So if you're in the UK, somewhere else, like in New Zealand, I know New Zealand's not in my buying place, it's not in the US buying place. So if you're in New Zealand, you can come and join us. It doesn't matter if you're a demo, it physically doesn't matter. Like if you're a hobby demo, we don't care. We're not what's that word I'm trying to say? We don't judge whoever wants to join. Like you physically
Right.
can join, whether you're a demo, whether you're a customer, whether you're a brand new crafter, whether you've been crafting for a while. So we just wanted to get it out there. And thank you, Marcy, for the first time of our craft along. It has been absolutely awesome. Marcy's going to learn to say this is the template we're using and no measurements, but we will get
I've
her there.
tried.
We'll get her up to speed. It'll happen sooner or later. But yeah. So thank you very much for everyone joining us. I'm going to sign off now for our live viewers. So for the people on YouTube, we're going to say goodbye to you now. And for the people that are actually here, our members that are here in our Zoom call, we will hang around and answer any questions that you may have. Hang on, I find.
So for YouTube, I just have something quick to say is for those of you that might not know, what we do is we send out kits. Donna creates 2 cards a month. I create 2 cards a month. We upload those to the Facebook page. It's a private Facebook page. And then we do our craft along and they have the kits to create these projects. Now they're not cut down. They're going to cut just like we did and get everything ready. And then they design on top of the card base on their own. So whatever they choose, if it's flowers or whatever. So we'll send out the card bases, the card stock, the DSP, some ribbons, some embellishments with what we're creating. And then they can design, because we can't stamp for them and we can't die cut the stamped images and that kind of thing. So we're letting them just kind of do what they want with the cards, but you will receive kits to create with us or go back and create with the video
And
at your
you'll have access to those videos. If you're a current member for that month, you will have access to those videos for 12 months. So when the 12-month cycle comes around, then we remove the people who aren't financial members and we keep the people in. So you will actually have access to that, and you will also have access to what we did previously. So Rose, Ward, and myself, what we did in the first 12 months. When you actually sign up, you'll get access to that month's as well. Yes, Colleen, this, oh, sorry, you just answered, Colleen. Yes, Colleen, this is public, so you can share this because this is out here on YouTube. So what we do is the craft along comes out public, and this is the only thing that we show public. The other content and the other cards that we're talking about, only the members get access to that. So unless you're a financial member of our Basic Foundations of Card Making, you don't see the other two cards, and you don't get a lot of the tips and tricks that we share in our other two cards and things that we talk about. You don't get that if you're just watching here on YouTube. But come and be a member. Like, the more the merrier. We want to build this group, and we want to have a great crafty group that you can feel like you can ask us anything, because it's really nice to actually have a little bit of guidance with your crafting, rather than you buying your products and you're on your own and you're trying to search up on YouTube how to do something. You actually have Marcy and I as your creative coaches to actually firsthand ask questions to and actually learn from us, from what we do. So it is a really great way to help you with your creativity. So all right, we will sign off for YouTube now, and we will chat with our members over in the Zoom call. So hang around, members. We will be chatting with you.